Welcome to the Rock is George podcast. I'm your host, George Dionne. Be sure to check out my new and improved website, rockisgeorge.com, where you can find all our social media and streaming platforms, as well as podcast episodes, knac.com exclusives, album and show reviews, and much, much more. My guests for episode 234 are guitarist COREY SCHENCK and bassist RON POULSON of the progressive rock act Pangaea. I last spoke with Pangaea about a year ago when they were promoting their studio album Beowulf. It was a return to the studio after 15 years, and now they're back with another new old release called The Reckoning. It was an unreleased album from the early 2000s. And here's COREY and RON to tell you more about it. So, COREY, why don't I start with you? We last spoke about Pangaea about a year ago. You just released Beowulf. This was after a 15-year hiatus for the band. What I wanted to know is, did listener reception of this album after such a long break meet your expectations a year later?
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely did. We've been seeing that at shows and with some reviews we've had and a lot of the interviews we've been doing. So I would say it kind of exceeded it for me. I kind of feel like we've been doing more now than we did the first time around, if that makes sense. Like just success-wise and kind of getting out there. So.
RON, I didn't have the chance to talk to you during the first interview. What was it like after a 15-year break, getting back together with the band to put out Beowulf?
Well, it's kind of like riding a bike, you never, you don't forget how to do it. It's really been 15 years. I don't think I'm that old, to be honest with you. It's almost like, we didn't miss a beat. We just kept, we just picked back up where we left off. And COREY's right. We'd reached a certain point after the first three albums. And, I guess there's always fear of you won't reach that back. But it didn't take us very long to get back to that point that we were after the first three albums. And then to, even climb higher now that we've done Beowulf and the Reckoning album.
I know that Pangaea has been doing some live dates between Texas and Oklahoma, where you guys are all from. COREY, how have those live shows been for you?
Blast. Yeah, we've got a really good reaction with the crowds and a good interaction with the crowds, I think. Whether it's our, 2-hour electric concerts that we do or they're over 2 hours. We've also been doing, Ron can elaborate more on these, acoustic shows, like at record stores and smaller venues. And those have been kind of more intimate, and they're pretty cool because, you're more exposed as a musician. When everything's acoustic, you don't have any electronics or distortions or anything of that nature. It's just, acoustic guitars and voices. And Andy plays like hand percussion. And we're doing a lot of the same songs and these, more natural sounding arrangements. So overall, it's been really good. So yeah.
RON, how has your experience been for the live shows that have come after the release of Beowulf?
The good part about the live shows is, you're always going to have your family and friend people there, but it's the people that you don't know that see you for like the first time that, I mean, this is not exaggeration. They're like freaking out. I mean, they're just like, where you guys come from? Where have you been? How come I didn't know you? Can I buy a CD? Can I buy a shirt? Can I buy an album? And yeah, to the acoustic side of that, it is pretty cool because, like I think Daryl said it, a good song is a good song, no matter whether we have like all the keyboards and all the stuff going on, or if it's just, 3 or 4 guitars, and like Steve plays the ukulele. And it's a lot different because people, they're like right there next to you and they can talk to you and they can ask you questions. And so it makes it, it's almost, we never have really done that. At least I haven't. And it made it, it's pretty cool. It's something that we're all like, yeah, we want to do that some more. We're sitting around in the band room and we just one Sunday, I think we just got the acoustic guitars out and we started playing, and we kind of looked at each other and we were like, "Oh my God, it's just, why haven't we been doing this all along? This sounds great." So that's why we started doing it. And it was, we played a couple of electric shows and acoustic shows like back to back to back here in Oklahoma, and it wasn't the reaction wasn't any different, and actually it was probably a little better with some of the acoustic, stuff, and people. Because you get that intimacy that you wouldn't normally get, like if you're in a bigger room, kind of a thing. It was really good. Yeah.
And it's interesting that you guys both mentioned the acoustic shows, because your recently released album, The Reckoning, kind of relies a little more on the acoustics than sort of the electronic side of music. This is sort of a new old album. Corey, we had talked about it a little bit in our last interview. It was previously unreleased, recorded sometime around 2003. It was 12 songs, but it's been expanded to so much more. Before we get into this particular collection, Corey, why was this album shelved to begin with?
Well, we had finished it. And around the time we recorded it, Ron had left the group, and then Steve had left the group because of family situations and whatnot. And then finally, it was just Andy, Daryl, and I with some other musicians helping us out. And we had a new version of it, the second one, recorded, and we were starting to play shows. And I think all of us at that point felt, at that moment, we kind of run our course. And that's when we took that hiatus that was so long, and we kind of just sat on the record. We made a CD pressing, but we never released it through a distributor. We only sold a handful of copies at some shows. And so when we got back together after we recorded Beowulf, Andy and I were talking about that album, and said, "Man, we didn't put that out. I mean, it's a good album. I mean, we put the time and the effort and the finances into it." And I think it was Steve was over at the house, and we played it for him, and he started listening, going, what is this? What is this? Because it'd been 20-something years since he heard it, and he just freaked out. We said, we need to put this out too, and that's kind of what happened. But yeah, I think it's just that it kind of got finished about the time the band was kind of coming to that pause, if you like. So
sure. And Ron, you and I were talking briefly. It's a little bit different than Beowulf. I think it's a little more indicative of the time that it was written, the late 90s going into the early 2000s. Would you agree with that, Ron?
Definitely more that, and kind of tried to maybe a little less prog and a little more pop, and trying to hit that market. Like somebody even I think we were talking to somebody and they said it, that had that kind of like Gin Blossoms thing to it, and it's that kind of stream, trying to go that way just a little bit. But like we talked about earlier, even though, you can look at some of our stuff and say, this is definitely prog, and you can look at the Reckoning album and say, that's more mainstream rock. It's still going to have those elements that you go, yeah, that sounds like Pangaea, because no matter what, if you're listening to our prog stuff, sometimes it's gonna hit the mainstream, and if you listen to the Reckoning stuff, it's gonna have those elements of prog in it. And I can tell you that we like the acoustic stuff so much that a few weeks ago we were actually out at Robert's again, our producer, and we did some stuff really stripped down to just like vocals and acoustic guitars. And so we're working on some. So we're even working on some more new stuff, even as we speak. So we've got things lined up coming. So it's the next year and a half is going to be a pretty exciting time for us in releasing new stuff. And I'm not going to say anything else because I don't want to get in trouble.
Corey, do you want to talk a little bit about the sound differences between Beowulf, your catalog of material versus The Reckoning?
Yeah, I think the differences would be, as Ron said, the songs are more succinct. They're like 3.5, 4 minutes, and they kind of tell more personal stories. We have some of that, of course, on the other albums as well. But we also, in the other albums, you'll find kind of fantasy stories or political things or social commentary. And for this record, we're focused on more of a personal approach, relationships that people were having at the time, expressing frustration about a job they might have, like one or two of the songs might do, and just kind of, where we were in the world personally. So it was a little more of a introspective look at ourselves and not like the world outside lyrically. Musically, it's really a lot like the other stuff in the sense there's some really interesting harmonies in some of those songs, some really unexpected harmony changes and key changes, and we're all known in our music for having these like leaning beats where everything is on the and of four and it comes in before, and this album does the same stuff. It just kind of gets rid of the instrumental development sections, if you like, kind of the noodling parts. We took a lot of that out and just kind of got to the point a little quicker. So I think there is some clear differences, but there's also a lot of stuff that's the same. I mean, it's like Ron said, it is the same band.
So with this release of The Reckoning, it's a double album with two different vocalists at the helm. Well, actually, you got the two volumes, you got the two different vocalists, you have the two different music presentations, and the two different producers. So, Corey, why don't you tell me a little bit why you chose to go with such a bombastic presentation here?
Well, we went with it because we had it all. I mean, it was all recorded back then. So in 2003, we had written the album, the 12 songs. We went to Robert Berry's studio, who produced everything we've done, and we recorded it. And then, as I said, Ron had left, and then Steve left. And Steve had sang the whole recording, and he had sung Time and a Place. And so Daryl, Andy, and I were sitting there, and we had got a new guy working named Dito Godwin, and he was a producer and manager. And he kind of felt, since Daryl was taking the vocals over again, as he had on Rite of Passage, that we should re-record some of it. And we decided to go a little further. We were in Hollywood now, not San Jose, with Robert, and we recorded in some studios in Hollywood. And we recorded everything again. We didn't leave the drums or the guitars. I mean, we re-recorded everything. So it was a fresh recording with Daryl's vocal. And then we brought in the horn arrangements. I wrote horn arrangements for trumpet and trombone, so we brought in brass players to bring in some more colors and stuff. And when I wrote those arrangements, I was kind of thinking, like the other Pangaea me that does all the keyboards, because I don't play much keyboard in this music, it's mostly guitar. And I thought that would be a keyboard part. I'd give it to the trumpets and the trombones, and they would do those things. And suddenly we had two good recordings with both of our singers. So again, when we were back together, we said, well, let's just put it all out. I mean, why not? I mean, Daryl sang 2 albums and Steve has sung 2 albums. So let's put one out with both their vocals and all these, versions of the songs that we were proud of. I mean, we didn't feel like one was better than the other or vice versa. So we just said, let's get it out there.
So Ron, none of the material on the current version of The Reckoning is re-recorded today. This is all from back when the album was originally put together.
Yeah, it's old. Yeah. Don't quit trying to date us, man.
So
I feel it. I feel it when I try to wake up in the morning. Let me tell you.
so none of it had to be touched up at all. No remixing, no mastering, no nothing.
Oh no, it was all. It was.
We did get it mastered. Yeah, we did get it mastered because it had not been. And we even got 2 different mastering engineers. Both guys that have been nominated or won Grammys actually did it. And we had one do the Robert Berry recording with Steve, and the other guy did the Daryl Massengale with Dito Godwin production. So we had 2 different engineers do it. One in Hollywood, and actually they both might be in Hollywood actually. So, but yeah, it was 2 different engineers. So,
is there a primary songwriter within the group for this particular album, or did everybody contribute ideas, Ron?
For The Reckoning?
Yes.
Oh, that that's, you're gonna have songs on there by Steve, by Daryl, by Corey, by Andy. So actually, The Reckoning is probably going to be a more, what's the word? It's more not diverse, but more everybody. You're gonna have more writers. We're probably at the very beginning of the band when you're looking at the Rite of Passage and stuff like that. That's more the proggy stuff was more probably put on Corey's shoulders to come up with all that stuff back in the early days. But now, even on Beowulf, you look on there and Andy's got songs and Steve's got songs, and so it's kind of being spread out just a little more. But that's not to say, I'll tell you this right now, that Corey still doesn't have anything, because there's the big joke of Corey's got a stack of notebooks with songs in it that we haven't even opened yet. And I was at his house. And this is, yeah, it's not a joke because I said it in an interview like last year. And he came over and he opened up a desk and he pulled out this gigantic stack of notebooks and he goes, "Here's the stack of notebooks you're talking about. Go through it and see what you can find." And it's just, I mean, we could be recording until we're all dead, to be honest with you, because there's just stuff, there's so much stuff there.
So, Corey, when it comes to songwriting for you in these stack of notebooks, is this like over decades, or were there a particular period where you just couldn't stop writing?
Both. When I started, back when the band kind of started, I'd go through spurts where I just write nonstop. I mean, 3 or 4 songs in a day, or 2 or 3 in a day, and then I might not write much at all for a month or 2, and then I'd get back on it and take off. We actually, as Ron mentioned, we have enough music right now. We could probably put out 1 or 2 more records already that we've got. And I came up with this idea. I just texted Ron and the guys the other night, ideas I have for a new concept to work on. I've been sketching ideas for that. So I'm kind of in one of those moods or vibes where I've got a lot of ideas going again. It kind of comes and goes, but it's just something I'm always kind of engaged with, because for me, that's the fun part of music, is creating something new. That's my passion more than anything. So
absolutely sounds like it.
I don't know if you knew this or not, but when we weren't even, there wasn't supposed to be a Beowulf. We were rehearsing, and I don't know if Corey told you this last time, but and it was like we're looking around, and Andy's like, "I've got some new songs," and Corey's like, "I've got new songs," and Steve's like, "I got new songs," and it went from the idea of when we got back together that we were just gonna get together and learn the old songs and try to play some live shows to, hey, we got all this new stuff. We could go to Robert's and record another album. And so it transitioned from playing to, okay, learn the new stuff. We're going out to Robert's, and you got Beowulf. But Beowulf, it just happened just like that. Somebody said, "I've got new songs," and the next thing you know, we got Beowulf. But we really didn't have the intention of doing that. We were gonna learn the old stuff and play live. So that's how things happen sometimes. Like, and just like Corey's talking about, it's like him and Annie were talking. It's like, we've got the Reckoning. Well, we weren't thinking about releasing the Reckoning, and somebody said something one day, and you can't. Here's the other thing: you can't say anything in front of Corey, because if you have an idea, he'll get quiet for about 2 or 3 minutes, and then whatever you said, even if you're joking, you'll come back tomorrow and it'll be a song, right? Or he'll grab one of those notebooks and he'll be like, "Oh, what you just said as a joke is now this song," and it happens. It happens more than you can think of. It happens all the time. But that's how that good stuff happens. That's how Beowulf happened. That's how the release of the Reckoning happened. It just is somebody will say something and it'll spark an idea with somebody else, and bam, that's
Sure.
It's just a good play off of each other that we have, and that we've always had, to be honest with you. We always talk about how we're all like more like brothers, even though Corey and Andy are really the only true brothers. I mean, all 5 of us, are actually, we're brothers. I mean, if you saw us sitting out at a table at dinner, you'd be like, "Man, all those guys must be related, the way they're, joking with each other all the time," because, and it's nothing bad, it's just like, family fun, brotherhood kind of thing. So it's pretty neat. It's a pretty good experience, let me tell you.
So, Corey, you worked with Robert Berry and Dito Godwin on this particular release. How did each approach the material? I guess, were there any contrasts in the way that they approached the material?
Yeah, there was. With Robert, we brought in this huge batch of new songs, and he helped it. He kind of gave it more focus, and he actually picked the 12. We said, "Hey, here's like 25, 30 songs," and he narrowed it down to the 12 that we were going to do. And he would kind of give us some ideas, to touch up. He even co-wrote a couple with us that we brought in. He gave enough ideas that we said, "Okay, you're actually co-writing because you gave enough ideas there." It wasn't just like, "Hey, change this one word." He was helping us out. And with Dito, he wanted to take what we already had because he really liked it, but he kind of wanted to just change the sound of it, and do it in Hollywood. And he actually mentioned the horn thing first. He said, "I could hear a horn in this one song." And we went, okay. And before you know it, I wrote arrangements for, I don't know, 9 or 10 of them or something. And but so it was a different approach that way. And when you listen to the 2 recordings, besides, Steve's voice and Daryl's voice, there is a difference in sound. The Steve recording to me has the acoustic is a little more present, the acoustic guitars, and things of that nature. And with the Dito one, it's a little more of like an electric guitar, a huge sound with those brass instruments playing. So the sounds are a little different.
So you got one single out now. It's So Long. Do you plan on releasing more singles from the album?
Yeah, we will. There'll be a couple more. Yeah, I was talking with Andy and one of the other guys. We'll probably put one out pretty darn soon. So yeah.
Which member wrote that particular song that you have out now, So Long?
The guy you're talking to in the black t-shirt.
Ron, why don't you tell me about So Long? Why don't you tell me what inspired it?
So here's, see, I don't know how, sometimes I get blamed for things that I didn't do or I don't remember. Or like, this is one of those things, like I'll have like a tiny idea and I'll come back tomorrow and it'll be a song. But this stuff happened so long ago. How am I supposed to remember all this stuff? I don't know with everything I've got going on. Oh, me. Or sometimes I'll look and my name will be at the top of the sheet and I'll be like, I don't even remember. How did this happen? I mean, it's just, anyway, I don't know. Corey's going to have to explain it to you.
We'll let the listener decide then. They can listen to it and figure it out on their own. We'll do it that way. Corey, previously, Pangaea's back catalog wasn't available for streaming. The Reckoning is available for streaming, as well as all your previous albums. Sort of a necessary evil in the music industry today. I'm assuming that's why you finally decided to stream the material.
Yeah, we had a big talk. I mean, for a while we weren't going to do it, and then we kind of got to this point. We were speaking with an advisor, like a manager, and he's really in tune with the industry. And he said, "You need to do this." And like you said, necessary evil. But he definitely advised for doing it. And we talked and talked, and two of us were still kind of against it, even when the decision was made. But the others all thought it was a good idea, along with the manager. And so we did put it all out, and it's good because it is getting more attention now. And yeah, we're on Spotify and Apple Music and a YouTube channel and lots of other ones too, Deezer, and there's other ones as well that we're on. So we're on a bunch of them. We have a Bandcamp page and, Facebook, Instagram, all the social media as well. So
hitting all the right places just to get it out there, right?
Yeah, and again, being old school, we are a band. We write our music, we sing it, we play it, even live. I mean, there's nothing fake. We play everything. It's going to be good. There might be a mistake. It's all there, and we have physical copies. I mean, we have every album is on CD. The Reckoning being a double CD, and many are on vinyl now. The Reckoning's a triple vinyl. Beowulf is on a purple colored vinyl. A Time and a Place is on vinyl, and we're probably going to be putting out very early next year the first two albums, The Rite of Passage, Welcome to Theater, both on vinyl as well. So then it'll all be on CD and vinyl and digital platforms as well at that point.
Now, obviously, there's different types of audiences. There's the streaming audience. There's the older guys like me that buy the physical stuff. A little tough for CDs for me because, I don't have a CD player, but I'm a vinyl guy. Ron, you guys made the CD more attractive because there's more songs on it. There's more mixes. There's more styles of the song. So you kind of do play to both markets.
Definitely. And, like you talked about with the streaming stuff, and Corey, we went for a while. I mean, it wasn't like we talked about it for a few days. There's some good pushback about going to streaming. I guess just because we're old school, But yeah, I have a CD player in my car that'll tell you how old my car is. But and I don't have a record player, but I can tell you that I do have a daughter in college, and records are very, very important because that's kind of what they go after right now, and that's the thing for them. And my youngest daughter, who's in middle school, believe it or not, she has a gigantic collection of cassette tapes. That's coming back into vogue, and we actually thought about printing cassettes. We're thinking about it because they're cheap and easy to do, and it's starting to come back around. So you're going to see people, like you said, like your age. We're looking for are nostalgia. So yes, albums and vinyl are coming back into vogue now. You can go into Barnes and Noble and Best Buy, and there's vinyl all over the place. You can go into Guitar Center; they sell vinyl. I mean, so yes, it's definitely making a comeback, and we've seen that, even at our shows. We saw, I think we probably sell more vinyl, just because, like Corey said, Beowulf's purple, and it's huge. You can see the artwork. We have an incredible artist in Ron Kowitz, and all of our stuff is, to see it like that, to actually be able to hold it, like when the first time you opened Kiss Alive 2 and you could feel the fire, I mean, it's the same kind of thing. You get this big, you can hang it on your wall and frame it. It's artwork, so yes, it's definitely reaching out to all those different audiences that are looking for that specific thing. And even, the people that are probably not into all that have to have the digital format, even though I'm not smart enough to do that.
So in with the whole streaming thing and yesterday versus today, it's almost like the streaming music, you got to kind of take the loss on the streaming music, of what you end up selling is your live performance, your logo, and your artwork. And that's sort of where the physical media is all about the artwork, it seems, with the younger kids. Would you agree, Corey?
Oh yeah, they're into because I teach at a college, and a lot of my music and audio majors, they do collect vinyl, kind of like Ron was saying, and they like that visual aspect, and they like that tactile to have that in hand, and they do like the cool covers and that, and they like having that. But we've actually, at our shows, as he said, we've been selling vinyl and CDs. And I remember at one show, I went back to the table, and one of the girls at the merch table said, hey, if somebody bought all like 5 records, can they get a deal? I said, sure, take this off and give it to them for this. And this one girl bought all 5 CDs, and I said, I go, do you have like a deck at home, or do you have one in your car? She goes, oh no, I just want these. She didn't have a CD player at all, but she bought all 5. So it's like, all right. So, but it was kind of that, in the moment, she enjoyed the show, and she wanted to have those, those things remembered by, I guess. So, but yeah, the artwork definitely helps when you have a good artist. And as Ron mentioned, Ron Kowitz of Germany, he's been our artist since 1997. Welcome to the Theater. He's been doing all of our covers. So he did The Reckoning, and he did Beowulf, and we actually have bought another painting already for the next album that will probably be coming out about a year and a half. So we already have another record. So
nice.
Yeah.
Ron, what does live performances look like in support of The Reckoning?
I think we did, it's probably not going to be till next year. Right now, we've got, I think in a couple of months, we've got a pretty big show in the Houston area. Actually, we're going to play for like 4 hours straight. So we're going to play all the electric stuff, like a full blown show, and all the acoustic stuff as well. And then after that, we've got other projects, believe, like Corey just said, there's more stuff coming out that we really can't talk about. Anyway, we've got a lot of stuff in the pipe. And then you'll see us next year, kind of like what we did just this year. There'll be a lot more of that, the live shows. And, when we first started talking about playing live, we're like, well, we need to hit all the festivals we can hit. Well, we kind of figured out pretty quick that all those festivals fill up, years in advance and stuff like that. And so we started looking at, well, what else can we do? And somebody suggested to us that you need to look at the theaters, because every town in Tulsa and Oklahoma, and in Oklahoma and in Texas has like a 300 to 500 seat theater. And so we were like, okay. So we started looking at those, and they're like, you're just going to have to promote it yourself. And we're like, okay. So we did. And, we played a place there called the Tulsa Little Theater. It's got about 300 seats. And you start looking online, and there really is a little theater like that in every town, where they did plays, and they show movies and stuff like that. And so we kind of figured that that's where we need to hit right now. And so next year we'll be looking at stuff like that. And then we got into the whole record store thing. I was in a record store, and I was like, I don't think we can play here. We're too big. And the guy was like, why don't you guys just play upstairs acoustically? And we were like, oh, that's cool. That's a good idea. And so, it was like, okay. So it just kind of went along with what we were doing. So you'll see us. I kind of think we probably ought to. I was talking to a friend of mine in another band, and his band just does the festival thing. But he was like, you got to kind of find your lane. And I think our lane right now next year is what you'll see us doing. You'll see us doing a lot of the kind of like coffee shop, record shop kind of places where we do like an acoustic thing where it's real intimate. And then you'll see us doing those 300 seat ish, give or take, theaters around the Oklahoma and Tulsa area, or I keep saying Tulsa, the Texas and Oklahoma area, with the hopes that, something, one of these things bites or, somebody takes on, then we'll be able to expand from that, and when we did all the interviews last year, it's like back east, it seems massive up there, and if we were all filthy rich, we'd just pile in a van and go up there for, the summer and play, but we're not, so we can't, unless somebody wants to back us. So, but that would be the end goal probably, is to find all those theaters back east up there and go play there, and where we seem to be, I'm not sure why, like big, just it's other people like, yeah, you guys, we love it. Yeah. And to touch on what you said earlier, after the hiatus, it was strange to us kind of, and very humbling about all the people that were like, we remember you. And like fans, record labels and stuff like that. They're like, yeah, we've got all your first 3 albums. Where have you guys been? We've been waiting for we've had fans like, I've been waiting for this for 20 years, and it's like, well, here you go. We're back,
It's funny you mentioned the little theater thing. We have a little theater here. It's called the Spire. It's called the Spire Center. It's here in Plymouth, Massachusetts, and Sophie B. Hawkins just played here like a couple weeks ago.
Wow.
So it does
Sounds like our place.
Striper played there once too.
Oh wow. I just saw Striper a few months ago here in Tulsa.
Michael Sweets he actually lives in town.
Oh wow.
I've never bumped into him as many times as I've interviewed him, and I live in the same town as him. Never bumped into him. I don't know how that happens.
Wow, that's great.
So, Corey, you teased me last time with new music coming out from the Beowulf sessions because you had extra music. You're teasing me now with this little special studio project with Robert Berry. What can you talk about for when we can expect the new music, and would it be more in the vein of Beowulf or more in the vein of The Reckoning?
So one of the projects, we've got it finished. We're just going to wait though to see. We're waiting kind of for Beowulf because it's getting released in Europe right now, and The Reckoning's out. So we don't want to have 3 records out there at the same time, So we're going to hold back till those two, have kind of run their course more. That one is more like Beowulf, I would say. It's got 1 or 2 kind of accessible songs or whatever you want to call them, but it's got some pretty complicated stuff on there too that's very well developed, showing kind of music chops. And the other project we did, which just happened in just like part of last month with Robert again, as Ron mentioned, we recorded some stuff pretty bare bones acoustic. And some of that, Robert, we walked in the studio and he had seen a clip of one of our acoustic shows, I guess, online. He set part of the studio up exactly how Ron, myself, Steve, Daryl, and Andy sit on a stage. He had the chairs in the same order. Everyone's in the same position. He had the mics in place and said, hey, why don't you guys just sit down and run through one of them a couple of times? So we ran through one of the songs, and then he goes, let's lay it down. And this is the truth. There was no click. There was no metronome. He told me I was the metronome. So if you like the recording at the time, it's all me. If you hate it, it's all me too. So he said, you're the metronome, and let's record it live. So we get there the first day off the airplane. We recorded 2 songs in the studio live. And we ran through each one maybe 4 or 5 times, I think. And Robert said, that's the take. And then some other ones we also did acoustic, and we kind of layered it more. I went in and played a couple guitar parts, and Daryl added one. Then we put the vocal on top. So that's another project we have. And then we do have some ideas. We've already talked to Robert Berry already. We plan on going back to San Jose to record next summer. We have a project we want to do, and it would be, I don't want to say too much about it. It would be very prog, though, because it's like a concept record. So it'd be a concept album.
Ron, do you work on any other music projects besides Pangaea?
I have just enough time for Pangea because I have, like I mentioned, touched on earlier, like everybody, we all still have a full-time job, and because we can't afford to do it, and I have a family. Steve's got, Steve is also married and he has kids. I'm married and I have three daughters, and so we all work. And Daryl's married, he's got kids. I'm not slighting any that. We and that's kind of what the hiatus was about. I don't know if Corey had mentioned that before, but life just kind of got in the way with jobs and school and family and things like that. Things just happened, and we couldn't get there from here. And fortunately now some of us are in a better position where we can get, like I told you earlier, we can fly to Houston, we can spend the whole weekend together and rehearse once a month, or if we're playing, we can rehearse and play at the same time. And hopefully, the end goal is that it would be nice one day if everybody was in Houston and that's all we did was, play music all day, every day, but that for right now you have to do with what you have, and so this is where we're at. Yeah, but we're pretty lucky that Andy has Pro Tools, so when we go down there, when we work on these projects, we can lay everything down. He can send it to Robert. Robert has Pro Tools, he can put it in Pro Tools. So when we did Beowulf, we did a lot of the pre-production for Beowulf in Andy's studio with his Pro Tools. And actually, some of the stuff that we laid down in Andy's studio, Robert was like, "This is just as good as we can do here," and he just used it. So I mean, it helps. It helps a lot. These technologies so much, because in the old days when we did the first album, when we went to Robert's, if you screwed up, you started over at the beginning, and he was cutting tape, and pasting, and it's not like everything's digital now. So I mean, yeah, he's still got the tape machine in the corner, and it's like, and he's got the little slicing block, and you go back to that time, it's like, oh yeah, he did the drums analog, and we would cut tape and paste, tape it back together and everything. And it was like, not now. Now he just goes play it again, and he grabs it real quick, and you don't even know it's like Corey said when we were doing the acoustic stuff. Robert's like, play it 2 or 3 times, and he goes, okay, that's good. And we're like, what are you talking about? Well, he's got 3 takes of it, and he can digitally put it together in his head. He can hear what Robert. It's crazy, right? Because he can, there's 5 guys playing, and Robert can play all 5 of your parts, right? So he can, in his head, he's got like all your sections, and he can just grab it and put it together, and you're just trying to get through your part. But Robert's got your part, so you don't have to worry about it. He's the magician for sure. Let me tell you.
Corey, do you still work in the studio on projects with Robert?
Oh yeah, all the time. Yeah, we do. I mean, like I said, we were just out there last month, and yeah, and we're planning on going next summer. That's our goal. We have a lot of work to do before next summer, but that's our goal. We'd already talked to Robert when we were there, and what's really cool about these projects. It's not just the 5 band members together. It is Robert Berry producing. Tom Duell has been the vocal coach since the Rite of Passage, doing the vocal coaching and the vocal engineering. Ron Carlos has been doing the artwork, and Dave Laporte has been doing our photos for a long time. So it's the whole team is back together. It was just great. So it's not just the 5 band members, it's the studio engineers and producers, and it's the visual with the photos and the artwork. And it's like everyone came back together. And even in the Reckoning music, the horn parts that were recorded back in 2005, that's when those were recorded, some of those horn players have come back and they're playing the live shows with us.
Nice.
Yeah.
So if you decide to do the Reckoning live, will you utilize both singers to perform it?
We are. We've played a few shows doing that already. So yeah, Steve will sing the whole show if you want him to, but like Ron said, we're playing concerts that are over 2 hours long, and that's a lot of music. And so we always kind of coax Daryl, hey, you got to sing a couple of these, so Daryl will sing too. So yeah, Steve sings a majority, but Daryl's singing lead on a few as well. And it's a cool sound, and the horns are playing with us live during those Reckoning songs as well. So.
Well, Ron and Corey, those are all the questions I have for you today. The new Pangaea album is The Reckoning. It's out now. It's streaming everywhere. People can buy physical copies, vinyl, CDs, whatever they like. And they could just head over to your website, Pangaea.band, Dot
Yes.
Pangaea dot band.
That's it.
And
Yep.
I want to thank you both for coming on the podcast today to tell me more about the project and everywhere that the band is going.
Thanks,
Thank you.
George, man. Thanks for having us on again. This is great.
Once again, I want to thank COREY SCHENCK and RON POULSON of Pangaea for coming on the Rock is George podcast. Be sure to check out their latest release, The Reckoning, out now. Head over to your favorite music streaming platform. Take a listen to the album. If you like what you hear, buy a physical copy or a digital copy. Support the artist. For all things Pangaea, head over to their official website, pangaea.band. You've been great. I've been George Dionne. Discover your next favorite artist on the Rock is George podcast.